Hey Parent Hive, some days you are ready to light the world on fire with your amazingly creative ideas and you are just feeling on it with your kids and you can just accomplish anything. And then if you're anything like me, some days are like today where you're really just not. Maybe you're working, maybe you've got a lot going on, maybe you just don't have time to be super creative. But that doesn't mean that your kids have to have absolutely no activities or no structure or that you can't do something with them. So if you're looking for sort of a quick fix and a quick, simple activity that isn't too labor intensive, probably with stuff you already have in your art drawer or just in your house right now, this is the project, this is the activity for you. We're gonna make it really simple today. So I'm gonna include the link down below to StoryTime at Awnie's house. It's a wonderful YouTube channel for kids where Awnie reads great kids books. And we started with The Rainbow Fish, written by Marcus Pfister. And it's a great story about a fish that is covered in beautiful scales and someone asks him for one and he says no. And ultimately he's not a very well-liked fish because he's not very generous. When he starts giving away his beautiful scales, I'm sorry, spoiler alert. When he starts giving away his beautiful scales, he starts to have more friends and he realizes that having friends is more important than looking beautiful and having all these beautiful scales. So it's got a really wonderful message. It's a great story with a great theme. You can use this to talk about all other kinds of things about how generosity, giving, and service can make you happy. It's a very good lesson for kids. We can take it one step further, just one. You don't have to do a ton of stuff. But here's what we did to add just a small project that would get some fine motor skills, some cutting. If you have kids in the 4 to 6 to 7 even age range, this is a really great project that we did with the Rainbow Fish book. So this is from my two kids. Again, I have a 4 and a 6-year-old, and we practiced weaving pieces of paper to make rainbow fish scales. Now, I will tell you that this was not the easiest project for my little guy. So I didn't force him to do all of the weaving himself, but what I did with him was practice identifying the pattern of over, under, over, under, over, under, and he got really good at saying that. Because the strips are smaller, it was kind of too much of the fine motor for him. My daughter had no issue with the fine motor. She was just cruising along. Identifying patterns and where to start was the challenge in it for her. So 2 ages, same activity, and both are working on 2 different developmental skills, which was really fun. I also had them cut out the fish on their own. I drew it, but then they cut it out. And then I drew the straight vertical lines where we cut this. Now I'll show you step by step how to do this. Again, it's super simple. All you need is construction paper and some glue and some scissors, which most people will probably have at home, to have a really cute little rainbow fish activity, a rainbow fish project that is all done. Now, if you saw my video yesterday about doing that living history keepsake journal, this is going to go after we're done enjoying this in our house, after it's hung up. These will go inside of that living history keepsake journal for the kids so they can keep all of the activities, all of the drawings that they've made in the same place. Now I'm going to show you exactly how I did this so that you can do this at home. Okay, this is really simple to make this fish craft. First things first, we have to trace out or draw our fish. You can download a template if you want, or you can do what I did and just freehand a really simple fish. That's what I'm going to do right here. So first, I'm going to do our tail and make that go all the way off the page. The most important thing here is that we have a really big wide body. Really big wide body. And then just because I think it's cute, I'm gonna do a little fish mouth on here. So really big wide body, fish mouth. You can add the fins now, or you can add them later with another piece of paper, whatever it is that you like. Next step, depending on the age of your child, you're going to go ahead and cut out the fish. So if this is a great activity for your kids. My kids have been working on cutting since they were in 4-year preschool. So if you have some kid scissors, go ahead and cut out your fish, or have them cut out your fish. Either way, whatever is developmentally appropriate for your little guy. After we have the fish drawn, the next step is to cut it out. So Either parent can do it or your child can do it. It depends, whatever is developmentally appropriate for your son or daughter, go ahead and do it. I know that cutting was actually a big skill that my daughter's 4-year preschool teacher was working on last year. So this can be a really good exercise for your children to cut on the lines. Now, some of the fish lips or around in some of these tight angles here can be a little tricky, so you may need to cut those out for them, but the long lines, they can really do that on their own. So cut this fish out, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so we've cut out our fish. Don't worry about lines on the fish, or if you didn't do an amazing job, or if, like me, you actually used a piece of paper that already had another fish on the back. Maybe you drew it twice. It doesn't matter. We're gonna flip it over and use the best looking side, the side with the least amount of lines. But again, even these little lines up here still don't matter because we're gonna color and decorate this. You can use marker on this later and it's gonna look really, really nice. So after we have our fish cut out, we're gonna move on to the next step. And that is actually folding our fish in half, roughly. You don't have to make a big crease on it, but you're gonna take your scissors and I'm gonna make cuts as evenly as I can down the body of the fish. Now, from experience, the smaller the cuts, the harder this is. If you have a young child, don't make too many cuts and don't make them too small. Now this is pretty small and it's kind of a lot, so it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge, but the smaller ones do make better scales. It just depends what works best for your child. Next step, this is a really great use of paper that either has holes in it or has been drawn on, or your kids just don't really want to use it for one reason or another. Take that piece of paper that isn't going to be used and cut it into little strips. This is a great mom job because you will find this to be a lot faster. Parent job in general, not just moms. My husband was involved in this step as well. Okay, so lots of little strips of paper. We used a lot of the different leftover pieces of paper that we had from other projects, and we made a big pile of strips to use for our fins. Next step is to start weaving the scales. So we're going to teach over-under patterns, over, under, and just alternate through all of the little cuts that you've made. Now, as you can see, this is why I said that with thin cuts, it's a little bit more difficult because there's just more weaving. If you have a younger child, do fewer cuts and thicker pieces of paper. For the next one, I want to go the opposite. So instead of starting from the top, I'm going to start from the bottom and I'm going to go over, under, over, under, and again, it doesn't matter where you are on the fish, just keep weaving your pattern, and then you can slide this where you want it to be. Over, under, pushing it through, over, under. Now this one is the tails of the piece of paper are going to be on the back as opposed to the front. So then when we're done, we're gonna just slide this up nice and tight to the next one. So you can start to see our pattern. Our third one, we're gonna match this pink strip right here. And you can see that the finished project here just alternates with however many strips you have. Now, the longer the cut you have going down the length of the fish, the more pieces of paper you can weave through, and you'll have a beautiful looking rainbow fish at the end. When we were done, we took some glue sticks, we cut off the tails of each side of the pieces of paper, glued those down, and then we made our background with just a regular blue piece of paper and glued our fish on top. The final step is to color and decorate, and then of course name your fish because that's just the most fun part. So this is my daughter's. She did a lot of decorating. Hers is a girl with beautiful eyelashes. Her bubbles are hearts. Because my daughter is into all things sparkly, pink, princess, all of the above. Her fish's name is Crystal Fish. This is my son's. My son is 4. He's been really into the movie Up lately, so his fish's name is Russell. He had a really good time. This is apparently a phone. He told me his fish had a phone. But he had a really good time coloring and decorating, and it was a sunny day for this fish. So he was very proud to show me that he drew a sun on his fish. So this is the simplest part and the part where the kids can really make it their own and just use things you have around the house: markers, colored pencils, crayons. Really, really simple, and it's a really cute looking project at the end of it that goes really well with our rainbow fish story. Okay, so I hope you liked that craft and activity. It's really, really simple. It's a great thing that takes, I don't know, it's half hour, 45 minutes, maybe even up to an hour if your kids get really into decorating. So it's a great little piece of structure that you can add into your day, and it doesn't require a whole heck of a lot from you. I will include, again, the link down to StoryTime at Awnie so you can get the story and theme your whole activity after that. Hope this works well for you. If you like it, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you get notified every single time I add a new idea, activity, or resource for you to use. Have a good one.